The agency didn't tell me whose house it was when they assigned the job. They never did. Just an address, a time, and a uniform wrapped in dry cleaning plastic. I was 17 minutes early when I rang the doorbell, heart racing harder than I wanted to admit. It was a Saturday morning, gray skies hanging heavy over the suburbs, and I could already feel the familiar ache in my back from the weekend shifts I'd been taking since my mom's second job stopped paying on time. I told myself it was just another house, another day, another rich family who wouldn't look me in the eye. And then the door opened, and I forgot how to breathe. There she was, Taylor Monroe, senior, varsity tennis captain, daughter of the richest family in town, and my high school crush since sophomore year. Her blonde hair was tied back messily, strands clinging to her cheek, and she was wearing the kind of sleepwear that made my mouth dry, an oversized shirt slipping down one shoulder, and shorts that looked more like underwear. "You're the maid," she said, blinking at me like she couldn't quite process what she was seeing. I couldn't speak. My tongue was stone. I managed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't realize this was your house. Taylor leaned on the doorframe, her gaze drifting down my uniform. Black skirt, white blouse, apron tied tight around my waist. "Seriously?" she said, a slow smirk tugging at her lips. "You go to Ridgeway, right? You're in my lit class." "Yeah," I said quickly, cheeks burning. "Rowan, right." Her eyes narrowed slightly. Rowan with the dark poetry and the good essays. She didn't move aside, just looked at me like I was some strange new species. I couldn't tell if she was mocking me or just curious. "Are you gonna let me in?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you. "You gonna mop the floor in that skirt?" she replied, lifting an eyebrow. My throat tightened. I knew what I must have looked like to her. Just another scholarship girl doing someone else's dirty work. But I stepped past her anyway when she finally moved, heart slamming against my ribs. The house was massive, modern, cold, all white walls and glass and clean lines. It didn't look lived in, it looked curated. Taylor followed me into the kitchen and leaned against the counter while I unpacked my cleaning supplies. "So you work for the maid service?" she asked. Sipping orange juice like this was a normal conversation. "On weekends," I said, avoiding her eyes. "Pays better than retail." "That's wild," she said. "You clean rich people's houses and then sit 2 rows behind them at school like it's nothing." "It's just a job," I muttered. "Doesn't mean anything." She tilted her head. "You sure about that?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I started wiping down the granite counters, trying to focus on anything except how close she was or how she kept watching me. She didn't leave the room. She didn't stop staring. "You've never talked to me before," she said. "At school, I mean." "I didn't think you'd notice." "I notice a lot of things," she said, and there was something different in her voice now. Lower, sharper, like the way you blush every time we make eye contact. My hand froze on the sponge. "I don't. And the way you keep looking at my legs right now." My eyes snapped up, horrified, and she laughed, soft and wicked. "Relax. I don't mind. You're messing with me." "Am I?" she asked. "Because you look like you want me to keep going." I dropped the sponge. "I'm here to work." "Are you?" She stepped closer, slow and deliberate. "Then you should probably clean the upstairs bathroom. It gets messy." She turned and walked away without waiting for an answer, hips swaying with every step, leaving a trail of tension in her wake. I stood there, stunned, heat curling in my stomach. I should have been angry, embarrassed, something. But all I could think about was the way her voice wrapped around me like silk and the fact that this wasn't just a job anymore. This was her house, her space, her rules. And I had no idea what I'd just walked into, but I knew I wasn't ready to walk away. I took the stairs slower than I should have, one hand gripping the banister like it could steady the storm spinning in my chest. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that made everything louder. My heartbeat, my breath, the soft creak of the floor under my shoes. I didn't know what I'd expected when I agreed to take this shift. Certainly not Taylor Monroe answering the door in half a pair of pajamas, calling me out on every secret I thought I'd buried too deep to be seen. I was halfway down the hall when I heard it. Her voice, drifting up from the kitchen, light and lazy like she wasn't breaking every unspoken rule between us. "Don't forget the shower," she called. "It's got glass doors. Real streaky." My throat tightened. She was still watching me, even when I wasn't in the room. I found the bathroom and closed the door behind me, locking it more out of instinct than privacy. It was pristine. Of course it was. White marble, gold fixtures, not a single hair out of place. The kind of bathroom people took photos in for social media. The kind of bathroom I didn't belong in. I set my supplies on the floor and took a deep breath, gripping the edge of the sink. "She's just messing with you. This is a game to her. You're a novelty." But her voice hadn't sounded mocking. It had sounded interested, curious, dangerous. I tried to focus, sprayed the mirror, wiped it down, polished the counter. The usual rhythm, the comfort of routine. But the whole time, I felt her presence like static in the air, even though she wasn't physically near. By the time I got to the shower, my hands were shaking. I slid the door open and stepped inside to clean the glass, ignoring the echo of her laughter in my mind. I was crouched down, scrubbing the bottom edge, when I heard the door click. I froze. My heart jumped into my throat. "You lock the door when you clean?" Taylor's voice was amused, almost innocent. "What? Afraid I'd catch you stealing my shampoo?" I straightened slowly, turning to find her leaning against the doorway. This time, she was wearing a different shirt, still oversized, but lower at the neck, and she'd tied her hair up, exposing the slope of her throat. "I just didn't want to be interrupted," I said carefully. "Oh," she said, her smile widening. "Well, that didn't work." She stepped into the bathroom and shut the door behind her. Not locked, just closed. The air changed instantly. My breath caught. "You shouldn't be in here." "Neither should you," she said, looking around the spotless space. "It's already clean, but I guess you just needed an excuse." "An excuse?" I echoed, my voice thin. "To be in my space," she said. "To be near me. You're imagining things." "Am I?" She moved closer, slow, unhurried, like a cat testing its prey. "Because I've seen the way you look at me at school. You think I don't notice, but I do. You watch me like I'm fire. Like I'll burn you if you get too close." "Maybe you will," I whispered. She stopped just in front of me. "Maybe you want to be burned." My back hit the glass, cold against my spine. Taylor didn't touch me. She just stood there, a breath away, her eyes searching mine. I could smell her perfume, clean, sharp, expensive. It wrapped around me, made my knees weak. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Because I'm bored," she said, but her voice wasn't playful anymore. It was quiet, serious. "Because I'm curious. Because I've never had someone like you look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like I'm real." My breath hitched. "You are." She smiled, soft and dangerous. "Then prove it." I didn't know who moved first. Maybe it was both of us at once, some invisible thread snapping. Her hand found my waist, fingers curling tight. My hand slid up her arm, her shoulder, into her hair. And then our mouths crashed together. The kiss was messy, desperate, too much and not enough all at once. I tasted orange juice and something sweeter, something uniquely her. She kissed like she didn't know how to stop, and I kissed her like I'd been waiting forever. Her body pressed against mine, pinning me to the glass, heat surging through every nerve. And then she pulled away. Just an inch. Just enough. Her eyes were wild, lips parted, her chest rising and falling fast. "I should stop," she whispered. "Then stop," I said, even though I didn't want her to, even though my body was still screaming for more. Her fingers slid from my waist to my hand, holding it for a second before letting go. "You're dangerous," she said. You think I'm the one who's playing games, but I think you like being the one who gets caught. I couldn't answer. My voice was gone. My mind was smoke. I'll let you finish, she said, stepping back, the distance between us sudden and unbearable. Downstairs when you're done. Don't take too long. And then she was gone. I stood there, lips tingling, heart hammering, hand still warm from where she'd held it. I should have felt angry, used, confused. But I didn't. I felt electric. Alive. Like I'd just been lit from the inside. And I knew one thing for certain. This job was going to ruin me. And I couldn't wait to let it. I didn't go downstairs right away. I needed time to breathe, to cool the heat blooming under my skin, to remind myself who I was and what I was doing there. I wasn't supposed to kiss her. I wasn't supposed to want her this badly. But everything about that house, the stillness, the glass walls, the girl who looked at me like I was the first person who'd ever said no to her, made me reckless. I finished the bathroom slowly, hands trembling with every movement. I replayed the kiss in my mind over and over again, analyzing it from every angle like I could decode her motives. Was it curiosity? Control? Or did she really want me the way I wanted her? When I finally made my way back down, the kitchen was empty. I paused at the bottom of the stairs, heart racing, unsure if I should keep moving or just turn and leave. Then I heard her, muffled laughter coming from the living room. I walked quietly to the edge of the hallway and peeked around the corner. She was sprawled on the couch in a different outfit now, tight black leggings and a hoodie that slid off one shoulder. She was laughing at something on her phone, completely at ease, completely untouchable. And then, without looking up, she said, "Took you long enough." I froze. "You knew I was there?" "I felt you," she said, finally glancing over. "You walk like someone who's trying not to be noticed. It's cute." "Don't do that," I said, stepping into the room. "Do what?" she asked, eyes glittering. "Flirt like it doesn't mean anything." Her smile faltered for half a second, and then it came back, sharper. "What if it doesn't?" "Then stop kissing me," I snapped. Her expression shifted, surprise, maybe, or something softer. She set her phone down and stood slowly, approaching with deliberate steps. "Is that what you want?" I didn't answer. I didn't know the answer. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't want to say it. She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo, feel the heat radiating off her skin. "You're angry," she said. "I'm confused," I corrected. "And you like that." She tilted her head. "Maybe I like seeing what happens when someone doesn't fall in line. Is that what I am? An experiment?" Her voice dropped. "No. You're a disruption." "That sounds worse." "It's not." She reached out, fingers brushing my sleeve. "You make me feel like I don't know what I'm doing, like I'm not in control, and I'm not used to that." "Good," I whispered. "Then we're even." Her eyes darkened, and for a moment, I thought she was going to kiss me again. But instead, she pulled back. "I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to be honest." "Okay. If I wasn't rich, if I wasn't popular, if I were just some girl who walked into your world with nothing, would you still look at me the way you do?" "I don't look at you that way because you have money," I said, breathless. "I look at you that way because you undo me." She exhaled sharply, as if the words hit her harder than she expected. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Stay. After your shift." I blinked. "What?" "Stay," she repeated. "Just hang out. Watch a movie or something. I don't care. I just don't want you to leave yet." Every alarm in my body went off. This was the line. This was where I was supposed to say no. But I couldn't. Not with the way she was looking at me. Not with the way I already felt like I belonged in this space beside her. "Okay," I said. "Just for a little while." She smiled, genuinely this time. "Good. I hate being alone in this house." She went to the kitchen and came back with snacks, 2 sodas, a blanket. We sat on the couch without touching at first, knees almost brushing, shoulders close enough that I could feel her heat. She put on some rom-com I barely registered, and for a while we sat in silence, our breaths slowly sinking. Then her hand brushed mine, just lightly, like a test. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just turned my palm upward and let her thread her fingers through mine. And we stayed like that, hand in hand, neither of us speaking. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't sex. But it felt more intimate than anything we'd done so far. Because in that moment, she wasn't Taylor Monroe, Queen of Ridgeway, untouchable rich girl with perfect hair. She was just a girl holding another girl's hand, afraid to let go. When the credits rolled, she turned to me and said, "Why does it feel like something's going to break?" I swallowed. Because something already has. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "Come next Saturday too." "That's not my shift." "I don't care." I nodded. And I knew, as I left the house with her scent still clinging to my skin, that whatever this was, it wasn't going away. It was only going to get deeper. And maybe, just maybe, I didn't want to stop it. I told myself I wasn't going back. All week I rehearsed ways to decline, told myself it was too messy, too dangerous, too unbalanced. She was Taylor Monroe. Rich. Popular. The kind of girl who never had to work for attention. And I was the maid. The one who scrubbed her floors, took the back entrance, wore a uniform with someone else's name stitched over my heart. But when Saturday came, I was standing at her front door at 9:58 a.m., heart thudding, palms damp, wanting her like a secret I couldn't stop whispering to myself. She opened the door like she'd been waiting there for hours, hair in a bun, hoodie pulled over bare legs, and something soft behind her eyes that hadn't been there before. "You came," she said. "You asked," I replied. "Didn't think you'd actually listen. You're not used to people telling you yes, are you?" "I'm not used to people meaning it." Her smile faded, and for a second, she just looked at me like she was trying to memorize the moment. "You're early," she said. "You sound surprised." "I'm not. I just didn't want to hope." I followed her inside, the house just as quiet, just as massive. But this time, it didn't feel cold. It felt like something was waiting. She didn't hand me cleaning supplies, didn't direct me to a chore. She just led me to the living room, where the couch was already blanketed, snacks out like we'd planned something. We hadn't, but she had. "You don't have to do anything today," she said. "You're not on the clock." "Then why am I here?" "Because I wanted you to be," she said simply. "Is that not enough?" I sat beside her, closer than last time. Our thighs touched. Her shoulder brushed mine. "You scare me sometimes," I said. "Why?" "Because I don't know if I'm just another distraction to you." "You're not," she said instantly. "I've had distractions. They don't look at me like you do." "How do I look at you?" "Like you see the parts of me I'm trying to hide." "What are you hiding?" She didn't answer. Instead, she shifted slightly, curling her legs beneath her, angling her body toward mine. "I hate that house," she whispered. "I hate the way it echoes. I hate how perfect it looks on the outside and how empty it is inside. My parents are never home. The staff barely speaks. The walls don't remember anything." I stared at her, breath caught in my throat. "Then why do you stay?" "Because I have nowhere else to go." I reached out before I could stop myself, fingers brushing hers. She didn't pull away. She looked down at our hands, at the point of contact like it was something rare and sacred. "You make me feel normal," she said. "Real." "I don't know how you do that." "Maybe because I'm not trying to own you." "Everyone wants something from me," she murmured. A reaction. A compliment. A kiss. "You just sit here like it's enough to breathe beside me." "It is." Her eyes snapped up to mine, and the look she gave me wasn't flirtatious. It was vulnerable. Raw. Like a wire stripped of its insulation. "I don't want this to be a joke," she said. "It's not," I said. "Not to me." "Then kiss me again. But this time mean it." I didn't hesitate. I leaned in, my lips meeting hers like I'd already memorized the shape of her mouth. It wasn't frantic this time. It was slow. Deep. Her fingers found my jaw, pulling me closer. My hand slid around her waist, anchoring us together like I was afraid of floating away. She sighed into my mouth, her body melting against mine, and I knew then, this wasn't just a fling. It wasn't just lust. Something about this girl, this rich, untouchable girl with sharp eyes and a house full of silence, was sinking under my skin. And I wanted more. When we finally pulled apart, her breath was shaky. "What are we doing?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "But I don't want to stop." She nodded, forehead resting against mine. "Stay the night." "Taylor, please," she whispered. "Not for anything physical. Just stay. I don't want to wake up alone." I couldn't say no. I didn't want to. We moved through the rest of the day, like it was a dream. She showed me her room, her books, the record player she kept hidden in the back closet because she thought it made her look like she was trying too hard. We made popcorn, watched a movie, curled up together under a blanket that smelled like her shampoo. And when night came, we lay in her bed, fully clothed, her head on my shoulder, our legs tangled. "Do you think this is stupid?" she asked in the dark. "No." "Do you think I'm just slumming it with a maid?" "No," I said again. "I think you're scared." "And so am I." But this feels like the first real thing either of us has touched in a long time. She was silent for a long time. Then she whispered, "I don't want to lose this." "Then don't let go," I said. And she didn't. Not that night. Not the next morning. And when I left Sunday afternoon, her kiss at the door lingered like a promise neither of us dared to speak aloud yet. But I could feel it. We were falling. And I wasn't afraid anymore. Monday morning at school felt like a different planet. Same lockers. Same fluorescent lights. Same people clustered in the hallways. But everything looked sharper. Brighter. Like the world had been rewired overnight. Or maybe I had. I walked past Taylor in the hallway, and for a second, just a breath, her eyes met mine. She didn't smile, didn't nod, but something flickered in her expression. A secret, a shared current between us that no one else could see. She was dressed like usual, hair flawless, makeup precise, skirt short, confidence oozing from every calculated step. But I saw through it now. I knew what her voice sounded like when she whispered in the dark. I knew how her fingers trembled slightly when they threaded through mine. I knew she didn't want to wake up alone anymore. And that changed everything. "Earth to Rowan," Anna said, snapping her fingers in front of my face. I blinked. "What?" "You were zoning out again. That's the third time today. Either you're having a slow mental breakdown, or you got laid this weekend." I choked on my coffee. "Jesus, Anna." "I'm just saying," she said, sipping from her thermos. "You've got this weird glow. Like a girl who knows something the rest of us don't." I didn't respond. I couldn't, because she was right. "Fine," she said, raising a brow. "Don't tell me. But I know that look." The rest of the day passed in a blur. I kept feeling like people were watching me, like someone would look at Taylor and then at me and connect dots that didn't exist in public yet. She didn't acknowledge me in class. Didn't look my way once. I told myself it was normal, smart, safe, but it still hurt. After school, I had another shift. Not at Taylor's. Someone else's house. The normal kind of quiet. The kind that echoed in a way that made you feel invisible. I cleaned bathrooms, scrubbed countertops, folded laundry that wasn't mine. My phone buzzed once. Then again. "You okay?" I wanted to talk at lunch, but people were watching. "I miss you." My stomach twisted. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "I know. I miss you too." That night, I sat on my bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I was doing. This wasn't just a fling anymore. This was real. This was fragile. This was someone who looked at me like I was more than my paycheck, more than my uniform, more than the walls I'd built around myself. But how long could we stay hidden? And what would happen when we couldn't? Friday, I got another message from her. "My parents are out of town this weekend. Stay the night." I hesitated. Then yes. I arrived after dark. She opened the door like she'd been holding her breath all day, and the second I stepped inside, she pulled me into her arms. Her mouth found mine instantly, no preamble, no teasing. Just hunger. Just relief. I hated pretending not to see you, she said between kisses. I hated being two different people in the same day. So don't, I said, kissing her jaw. Be this one. The real one. We didn't make it to her bedroom right away. We stumbled onto the couch, tangled in blankets and each other, laughing, kissing, touching like we were trying to memorize skin. Her hands knew me now, my hips, my ribs, the hollow between my thighs. And mine knew her pulse points, the curve of her lower back, the way her breath hitched when I kissed beneath her ear. It wasn't just sex. It was claiming. It was comfort. It was coming home to something I didn't know I'd been missing. After, we laid tangled on the floor, still breathless, still laughing. You make me stupid, she said. You make me brave, I replied. She turned her head. You think people would understand? Probably not. Do you care? I looked at her, at the messy hair, the swollen lips, the eyes that had finally stopped trying to be cold. No, I said. Not if it means I lose this. Her smile was small but real. Then let's stop hiding. You sure? No, she said. But I want to find out what happens when I stop pretending I don't want you. And just like that, something shifted. We weren't a secret. Not to each other. Not anymore. And even though the world outside would come for us eventually, with its rules and judgments and cruel little whispers, inside that house, in her arms, I felt untouchable. I felt like I belonged. And for the first time, so did she. It started small, side glances, lingering stares, questions that weren't quite questions. Taylor and I didn't walk into school holding hands or kiss by the lockers, but something had shifted and people could feel it. We weren't hiding anymore, not in the way that mattered. And in a place like Ridgeway, that kind of shift didn't go unnoticed. On Tuesday, a girl from my biology class leaned in during lab and whispered, "Are you and Taylor Monroe like a thing?" I didn't flinch. Why? Because she keeps looking at you like you hung the damn moon. I didn't respond, just smiled faintly and went back to labeling test tubes, pretending my pulse wasn't pounding in my ears. That afternoon, I found Taylor leaning against my locker, arms crossed, hair in a messy ponytail like she hadn't slept. "You're getting stares," she said. "So are you. You okay?" "I'm used to it," I said. "People talk. They don't know anything." "They think they do," I said softly. "Let them." She stared at me for a long time, then pushed off the locker and walked away. I watched her go, heart aching with something I couldn't name yet. That night, she didn't text. And the next day, she avoided me in the hallway. I told myself she was scared, that maybe we'd moved too fast. But part of me wondered if we'd just stepped into a world she wasn't ready for. Friday, I found her on the bleachers behind the gym after practice. She was sitting alone, her tennis bag beside her, a bottle of water unopened at her feet. I climbed up slowly, heart tight. "You're hiding," I said. She didn't look at me. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About how I thought I could handle this," she said. But I can't stop hearing the whispers. The looks. It's like everyone's waiting for me to crack. "So crack," I said. "Let them see it. Let them know you're human." "You don't get it," she snapped. "You've never had the spotlight. You don't know what it's like to have everyone expecting perfection." "You're right," I said. "I've never had to be perfect. I just had to survive. But I do know what it's like to lose something that felt real because I was too afraid to fight for it." She looked at me then, her eyes glassy. "You think I'm giving up?" "I think you're scared," I said. "And I think I'm scared too. But I'm still here." "Why?" she asked. "Why are you still here?" "Because you let me in," I said. "Because you made me feel seen. Because I don't want to go back to pretending none of this meant anything." She blinked, a tear sliding down her cheek. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. "What if I'm not strong enough?" she whispered. "Then lean on me," I said. "I don't need you to be unbreakable. I just need you to be real." She leaned against me slowly, head on my shoulder, and we sat like that until the sun disappeared behind the school. Later that night, I got a text. "Come over. Please." When I arrived, she didn't speak, just pulled me into her room, shut the door, and kissed me like she'd been holding her breath all week. Her lips were urgent, her hands clinging to my waist like she was afraid I'd vanish. We didn't speak as we undressed each other, as we collapsed onto her bed, as we touched and kissed and breathed like we were trying to rebuild something with our bodies. But afterward, in the quiet, she spoke. "I'm sorry I disappeared." "I know," I said. "You were scared." "I still am." "So am I." She rolled onto her side, facing me. "Promise me something." "What?" "If this falls apart, if I mess it up, don't pretend it didn't matter." I reached out and touched her face, my thumb brushing the corner of her mouth. "Even if it ends, I'll never pretend it wasn't real. I don't want it to end." "Then don't let it." She nodded slowly, then pulled me into her arms. We slept like that, tangled and quiet, holding each other like we were the only steady thing left. And even though the world was still outside those walls, waiting to push in, I believed her. For the first time, I believed she wasn't going to run. Not this time. Not from me. Not from us. Sundays used to feel like recovery days, quiet, distant, like a pause before the noise of another week. But lately they belonged to us. To long mornings in Taylor's bed, the kind where time melted and we forgot who we had to be outside her room. That particular Sunday, I woke up before her. She was still curled against me, her breath soft against my collarbone, one arm wrapped tight around my waist like I might disappear if she let go. I didn't move. I didn't want to risk waking her. I just watched her, bare-faced, unguarded, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with money or image. I brushed a strand of hair from her face, slow and careful. She stirred slightly, but didn't wake. I didn't think I'd ever get used to this, being wanted like this, held like this, not just touched but chosen. When she finally opened her eyes, they met mine immediately, and she smiled like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You are staring," she whispered, voice still thick with sleep. "I do that sometimes," I said. "Only when I can't believe something's real." She stretched, burying her face in my neck. "I don't want to go back to school tomorrow." "Me neither." "Let's just stay here. Never leave the bed. You'd get bored." "With you?" she said, kissing my shoulder. "Never." It was perfect. Too perfect. And maybe that's why I felt the weight of reality creeping in even before we stepped outside. Because love doesn't erase the world. It just softens it, gives you something to hold when it turns sharp again. When I got to school Monday morning, the whispers were louder. People didn't bother pretending anymore. "Taylor Monroe? Really? I heard she's sleeping with her maid. It's probably just a phase. She'll grow out of it." I kept my head down, focused on my locker, on breathing, but inside I was shaking. Anna met me before first period, eyes wide. "Okay, so, it's out." "What?" I asked too quickly. "Don't play dumb. You and Taylor. Everyone's talking." "What are they saying?" "The usual," she said with a shrug. "Spoiled princess slumming it with a scholarship girl. Forbidden romance. Drama. But also kind of hot." "Jesus." "I'm serious," she said. "People are obsessed. And weirdly invested. But also vicious." "Are you okay?" I hesitated. "I don't know. Do you want me to punch someone?" That made me laugh, even if it was short and bitter. "Thanks. I'll let you know." Taylor found me at lunch. She didn't sit. She just leaned down beside me at the table and whispered, "Roof. 5 minutes." And then she walked away. I found her where she always went when she needed quiet. The back corner of the roof, near the service ladder, hidden by old vents and a crooked bench. She was pacing when I got there. "You heard?" I asked. She nodded. "My phone won't stop buzzing. My friends are being weird. One of them asked if I was trying to get you expelled for seduction." "Seriously?" "Yeah. And someone else said I'm going through a rebellion phase. That I'm only with you to piss off my mom." "That's cute," I muttered. "I thought so too," she said, but her voice was tight. "But it still hurts." "Do you regret it?" I asked. The words were out before I could stop them. She turned sharply. No. God, no. I wasn't ready for how fast it would hit, how loud people would be. You don't have to explain. I get it. But I want to explain, she said. Because I don't want you thinking I'm about to run. Are you? No, she said fiercely. I want this. I want you. I just don't know how to protect you from all of it. I'm not asking you to. I know, she whispered. But I want to. I've never wanted to protect someone like this. I reached for her hand. Then let's stop trying to control it. Let it happen. Let them talk. They don't know us, she said. They don't see what it's like when you look at me like I'm more than the name on my mailbox. Exactly. She leaned into me, forehead against mine, and I felt the weight she was carrying. This wasn't just about reputation or rumors. It was about identity, about who she was allowed to be, who she was expected to be, and who she wanted to become. Later that night, we sat on her bedroom floor, backs against the bed, soft music playing low. I used to think I had to be perfect to be loved, she said. And now? I asked. She looked at me. Now I think maybe love is what happens when you stop trying to be perfect. I kissed her, slow and deep, and when she pulled me onto the bed, we didn't rush. We touched like we were writing something permanent, like our bodies could speak the truth we weren't ready to say out loud. And when she fell asleep in my arms, I didn't dream of running. I dreamed of staying, of fighting, of building something real in the ruins of what people thought we should be. And for the first time, I believed we could. The photo showed up on Tuesday morning. Grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Me and Taylor on the roof, my hand on her cheek, her body angled toward mine, the closeness impossible to misread. No kiss, no scandalous pose. Just intimacy, connection, proof. I found out about it when I walked into first period and half the room went silent. Not the usual hush of disinterest. The heavy, deliberate quiet of something happening. I slid into my seat, opened my notebook, and tried to ignore the way people looked at me like I'd been unmasked. My phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Dozens of times. I didn't check it. I didn't have to. A minute later, Anna leaned across the aisle, her voice low. Someone posted a pic of you and Taylor. It's going around fast. What kind of pic? You on the roof. She's touching her face. Jesus, I whispered. They're calling it proof, saying it confirms everything. Some people are cheering it on. Some are not. My throat closed. I felt my body go cold, my limbs heavy, like the air had turned to cement. And then my phone buzzed again. A message from Taylor. Meet me. Roof. Now. I didn't ask for permission. Didn't speak. I just got up and walked out, ignoring the whispers, the stares, the heat rising behind my ears. She was already there when I arrived, pacing, her face flushed. She held her phone in her hand like it had betrayed her. I saw it, I said. She turned to me. I don't know who took it. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, she snapped. Because now it's not a secret anymore. It's not ours. It's theirs. They're dissecting it, commenting, making it into a thing. It is a thing, I said. It's our thing. She ran a hand through her hair, pacing faster. My mom called me. She saw it already. She asked if I was having some kind of crisis. What did you say? I hung up. I reached for her arm, slowing her down. Taylor, breathe. I can't, she said. It's too fast. It's all happening too fast. Then we slow it down. Together. She looked at me, eyes wide and afraid. Do you want to stop? No, I said instantly. I want to hold your hand in public. I want to kiss you without looking over my shoulder. But if you need space, if you need time, I don't need time, she said. I need you. I just don't know how to keep you safe. I'm not afraid of them. Maybe I am, she said, voice cracking. Not for me. For you. Because I know what happens when people like me ruin people like you. You didn't ruin anything, I said, stepping closer. You're the first person who ever made me feel like I could be loved without hiding. That stopped her. Her shoulders dropped. Her eyes filled. I don't deserve you. Then earn me, I said, voice steady.
Stay. Fight. Choose this.
Not just in the dark. Out here, where it's hard. She closed the space between us in 2 steps and kissed me hard. Not soft. Not tentative. But with all the weight of everything we couldn't say. When she pulled back, her voice was shaking. Okay, I'm in. All the way in. Let them talk. And they did. The photo blew up.
People reposted it, commented,
speculated. My classmates divided into sides, some quietly supportive, some loudly cruel. I found slurs scrawled on my locker 3 days later. Anna threatened to punch 3 different people. Taylor's friends started avoiding her in the hallways, unsure what to do with a queen who'd stopped playing the role they'd assigned her. But Taylor didn't back down. She held my hand in the parking lot after school. She kissed me in the library when no one was looking. She told her mother the truth in a voice that didn't shake. She's not a phase, she said. She's the first real thing in my life. We started to become something else, something visible. We weren't perfect. There were moments when the weight of it cracked through, when she flinched at a cruel comment or I questioned if I could survive being watched like prey. But every time we started to unravel, one of us pulled the thread back. One night, in her room, she turned to me and said, "Do you think it'll always be this hard?" I held her tighter. Maybe. But if I get to do hard things with you, I don't care. I used to think I was strong because I didn't feel anything, she said. But you make me feel everything. That's strength, I whispered. Not running. She kissed me, slow and soft, and when we lay down that night, there was no fear. Just warmth. Just skin. Just the quiet promise between us that no matter how loud the world got, we'd find our silence together. And in that silence, we were invincible. It had been 2 weeks since the photo. 2 weeks since Taylor and I stopped being a rumor and became a fact. The whispers still happened, but they had lost their sharpness. Some students moved on to other gossip. Some still stared. But the firestorm had faded, and what was left in its place was something quieter, a strange kind of freedom. For the first time, we didn't have to hide. We could sit beside each other at lunch, legs touching under the table, fingers brushing. She could walk me to class and tuck my hair behind my ear in front of people who used to only associate her name with trophies and parties. And at night, she still held me the same way she always had, like she was afraid the world might take me from her if she let go. The silence we used to need wasn't about fear anymore. It was comfort, familiarity, belonging. We were sitting on her roof one evening, a blanket spread out beneath us, the city lights blinking in the distance. Taylor had her head in my lap, fingers loosely laced with mine, her eyes closed as the wind played with strands of her hair. "You ever think about what happens after this?" she asked softly. "After what?"
School. Us.
The noise. "Yeah," I said. "All the time. And I think I want to see what it looks like with you in it." She opened her eyes, blinking up at me like she wasn't sure I was real. "You'd want to keep doing this after we leave Ridgeway? I'd want to keep you, wherever we end up." She sat up slowly, looking at me with a strange, quiet intensity. "You're the first person I've ever let love me like this." "Like what?" "Fully," she said. "Without performance. Without rules." I leaned in and kissed her, slow and steady. A kiss meant to reassure, not provoke. "You make it easy to love you." That's the first time anyone said that to me. Then they weren't looking closely enough. She smiled, soft and tired and real. "My mom invited me to dinner. She wants to meet you." I stiffened. "Seriously?" "She's trying," Taylor said, in her awkward, emotionally distant way. "But she's trying. And I want her to meet the girl who changed my life." "That's a lot of pressure for pasta night." "I'll hold your hand under the table," she whispered. "Promise." The dinner was awkward. Of course it was. Taylor's mom was polished, composed, and asked too many questions about my grades and none about my feelings. But Taylor didn't let go of me. Not once. And when her mom excused herself to answer a call, Taylor kissed me in the kitchen like she didn't care who might walk in. Later that night, she curled up beside me in her bed and whispered, "You're not what I expected. Sorry to disappoint." "No," she said. "You're what I didn't know I needed." I held her tighter. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to, because we were past the point of needing to prove anything. What we had was no longer about secrecy or rebellion. It was just ours. The next week, she started introducing me differently. Not as her friend, or her maid, or her study partner. Just, "This is Rowan." And people got it. They didn't always understand, but they understood us. Anna joked about us being domestic lesbians one afternoon after school when she caught us grocery shopping together. Taylor rolled her eyes, but didn't deny it. And in the parking lot, she kissed me with one hand on the cart and the other gripping my waist. And I knew then I could do this forever. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. We had bad days. She shut down sometimes when she got overwhelmed. I got defensive when I felt insecure about our differences. But we learned to talk.
To stay.
To fight for each other, even when we didn't know how to fight fair. One night, when we were lying in bed and I was tracing lazy patterns on her stomach, she whispered, "I used to think no one would love me for me. That I was just a role people projected things onto. And now I think I've been playing the wrong role." I kissed her collarbone. "Then let's write you a new one." She looked down at me, eyes full of wonder. "With you? Always." And that's how we stayed. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but with a promise that what we had was worth the effort. That we were no longer hiding, no longer pretending, just loving each other in the open, whatever that looked like. And maybe, just maybe, that was more than enough. Graduation came faster than either of us expected. One minute we were sneaking glances across classrooms and holding hands under the table in the cafeteria, and the next we were standing in gowns, tassels hanging in our faces, clutching diplomas like they meant more than they really did. Taylor wore white heels and a red ribbon in her hair, and when I saw her walking across the stage, smiling that slow, secret smile she used to give me only in private, I felt everything at once. How far we'd come, how much she meant to me. How scared I was to leave, and how ready I finally felt to live. After the ceremony, parents and students flooded the lawn. Cameras flashed. Hugs happened. Laughter spilled across the grass like confetti. Taylor found me near the back steps of the school, away from the chaos. She was holding 2 sodas and a small envelope. "For you," she said, pressing it into my hand. I raised an eyebrow. "Is this a love letter? Because I'm going to need it framed." "It's a lease," she said. I blinked. "What?" She smiled. "An apartment. 2 bedrooms, tiny kitchen, ridiculous rent. I already signed it. Just needs your name." My mouth went dry. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious," she said, stepping closer. "I don't want dorms and separate cities and maybe laters. I want you. I want dishes in the sink and laundry on the floor, and good mornings that don't end when the sun comes up." I stared at her, breath caught. "You want to live with me?" "I already feel like I do," she said. "So, why not do it for real?" "But what about, I already told my mom." She raised one eyebrow, and then asked if you drink oat milk or regular. I think she's starting to get it. "And your friends?" "The ones who stayed because they love me. The rest don't matter anymore." I opened the envelope. Inside was a photo of the apartment. Old brick, big windows, a tiny balcony barely big enough for a chair. My heart clenched. "It's perfect. It's us," she said. "So, will you?" I looked up at her. This girl who once seemed so far away, so untouchable, now standing in front of me asking me to build a life. "Yeah," I whispered.
Yes.
"Of course, yes." She kissed me right there, in front of the school, in front of teachers and parents, and people who used to whisper behind their hands. And this time, no one looked away. That summer was a dream. We packed our lives into boxes, argued over whose bookshelf was taller, cooked burnt pasta in our too small kitchen, danced barefoot on cracked tile. Some days we fought about the dishes, the budget, the volume of Taylor's music. But we always came back to each other. Always. She'd pull me close, wrap her arms around me from behind, whisper, "Don't go far." And I never did. One night, we lay out on our tiny balcony, wrapped in a blanket, the city lights flickering around us. Taylor had her head on my chest, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my stomach. "You ever think about how it all started?" she asked. "You mean the part where I was literally scrubbing your bathroom floor?"
She hummed. That.
"And how you looked at me like I was more than my house, more than my name." "You are more. So are you," she whispered. "You're everything." I kissed her then, slow and deep, the kind of kiss that says I'm not going anywhere. And I wasn't. We made a home in that little apartment, a real one, with overwatered plants and chipped mugs and playlists we argued about but always ended up dancing to. She painted quotes on the walls. I left notes in her shoes. And every morning, she pulled me close and whispered, "You're still my favorite." Time passed, and the world kept turning, but we kept choosing each other. Through new jobs and late nights and bad takeout and tired fights. Through silence and laughter and the kind of love that doesn't need to be loud to be strong. And even years later, when we told people how we met, when Taylor would smirk and say, she was the maid I wasn't supposed to fall for, they'd laugh. But I'd look at her and see the girl who kissed me against the glass shower door. The girl who stood beside me when the world tried to tear us apart. The girl who stopped pretending and started loving. And every time, without fail, I'd say, she was never out of reach. I just had to be brave enough to touch her. And I was. We both were. And we never let go. Thank you so much for your support, whether it's by liking, commenting, sharing, or sending your super thanks. You make all the difference here on the channel. See you in the next video.